I dedicated this book to Alain Resnais. I don't know if you know his work. The Last Year of Marion Bad, I think, is probably the greatest film in the world. I mean, that's a grandiose statement, but for me, it's the perfect work. Seamless, mysterious, ever engaging. I've seen it maybe 20 times. I'm never bored with it. It's fantastic work. That's only one of his marvelous films. It's dedicated to him. I got to know him when he was living here in New York, and I was living in Paris. We were friends until this moment. He's now 87 years old. He's making films. I dreamed that this book would be finished while he was still alive so I can get it to him. I mean, I wanted to get into his... He still hasn't gotten it yet. This book just came out like a week ago. So films were very important to me. Go back to the... And then, now I'm so excited on this role of myself to say that for one time in my life, I was an actor in a film, in his film, Alain Resnais. I tell people I was in an Alain Resnais film. So they think, what was that film? Could it have been Marion Bad? No, it was a short film called The Year 01, and the film lasts 10 minutes, and I have 3.5 minutes of it, where I speak. So that's my whole movie life, in a nutshell. Places. I have lived in several places, and that's odd to me, because I don't like to go anywhere. I hate travel, especially now, especially these days, especially with the kinds of planes and securities and stuff like that, security check. But for some reason, I've lived in places. I've lived in Mexico. I've lived in Italy. I've lived in France and Paris, basically. Morocco. When I was teaching with Paul Bowles, he and I, when I think about how preposterous it is, Paul Bowles and I sitting in the classroom teaching creative writing. I mean, can anything be more absurd? The writer of The Sheltering Sky. But there we were. So, yeah, I did a lot of that, and I like to write about. I like to reimagine those places, and put my characters in those locales. But also in America, I have stories set here. I don't know. I forgot if that's true or not, but I believe that may be true. But Paris is important. I know it sounds. Every time I say Paris, I think everyone starts to yawn. Oh, not another American in Paris. Please give us a break. But I was a kid in the Bronx, and Paris was my dream. So, well, to go from the Bronx to Paris is quite an enchantment. And so it stayed with me for a very long time. And I lived there, and I taught there. And it was, and somehow I don't know why. Something about it just moves me. You know, now it's just Disney World, but you know. The last sigh. Yes, please.
It seems like in your story you you talk about these really gentle things like love and these subtle things, I guess, like love and death, and they're really quiet. And then you put these events that are really adventurous, like the whole pirate adventure. And then you're talking about another book that you wrote, like the carnival, and all these adventurous things next to these very like endearing life happenings, you know, like things that we can't really help. And I just wondered why, if you do that consciously, or why you juxtapose those two things.
Why I juxtapose the life and death and
no, like I guess it kind of is. It's like the life and the death, but these like really gentle things in life. I don't know. It just seems like you describe love really gently and death endearingly, and then this adventurous, like, and then next to some adventurous, like, hero thing. And it's just interesting. I don't know if you...
I don't know how to answer. I don't even know. I really don't know. And my lawyer is not going to tell me. So I'm sorry. If I can get your email address, and I'll frame an answer for you and send it back to you. One last. We have to go soon. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe your political convictions show up in your new work. I've read Mao and Tintin, how his ending, Italian.
Yeah. And you read those books?
Yeah.
Let me give you a hearty handshake on the way out.
I'm just wondering, is that maybe one reason why it's harder to write about yourself, or do they make it into this book?
Can you hear him? Can you just hold on for a second and say what you have to say?
I guess I was just wondering if your political convictions make it into your new work, the memoirs coming up?
In the memoirs? Oh, not this book, you mean? In the memoirs?
Well, in this book, yeah, I guess in this book, or in the writing that's more autobiographical.
I don't see any of it in my stories here in this book. I think that they're not in this book. Sorry? Oh, that's not true. You know, I'm so sorry. You see, I need 4 lawyers now. Yeah, that's really, how can I say that? That's so nutty of me. Really. Because it's one of the most, for me, the most important stories I've written in that book is called The Park on Fire. And it was dedicated to Garcia Lorca, who was killed, Federico Garcia Lorca, who was killed during the Spanish Civil War, taken out of his house and brought up to the hills with others and murdered by the fascists. That was the inception of the story. I mean, that was the homage to Lorca that I felt I wanted to give him. I love his poetry, and the Spanish Civil War is a very, strangely enough, important moment for me historically. Very important, and it was for us all in the Western world. But that story became transformed, and I think I got less dogmatic and less programmatic about it, and it wasn't fascists against good-hearted poets, or, you know, surrealists and well-meaning leftists. I saw it something differently. I saw it as a much more cosmological and much more interesting, I think, thing about the blending of good and evil, where the faces of good and evil takes on something of great beauty. So it's a very strange thing, but that's certainly true. Yes, it's true that The Park on Fire has that underneath it all, some very political stuff. And I guess the memoir will have to tell about my life, my real life, and thinking about politics and, you know, what I was doing and thinking and with whom I was doing and thinking. Sure. Yeah. In Mexico when I was a kid, I was 18 or 19, and I was down there in Mexico, and I met these incredible artists. Like I don't know if you know who it is, but Siqueiros. The trilogy was Siqueiros, Rivera, Orozco. Those guys were dead, but I met Siqueiros. I went to his house. We had talk. I mean, I was 19 years old from the Bronx, and they liked me because I wasn't a fascist. Yeah, thank you. There's one, oh look, someone, Ernesto. Hola. That's Spanish, you know.
I love you, Fred.
Thank you.
I read an exchange in Bomb magazine between you and Jerome Charam, and you guys knew each other since you guys were kids in the Bronx, and it seems that it was sort of like a friendly tug-of-war that you guys had. How much of that shaped you? Because it seems to have ingrained something. There was some beauty there, and some serious rivalry. But
yeah. Oh, you mean how much of it's in this book?
Yeah.
Okay. Jerome Charan, if you don't know his writing, is a wonderful writer. He's a wonderful writer. It varies. Some books are just pure magic, and some part-time magic, but they're always worth it. Always. We grew up together in the Bronx. We were about 2 months or 3 months apart. And from the very beginning, even before we met, we were rivals because we had the same girlfriend, and we didn't know it. She kept us secret from each other. And I don't know what possessed her one day to tell us that she was seeing both of us. And that, let me put it this way. He's written 35 or 36 or 37 books. In one book called Metropolitan, and one in his nonfiction books, when he refers to me, at this time of life, he says, my rival, Frederic Tuten. At this time of life. So I think that it's really true. So I think that in these stories, someone said that to me. He said, why is it that in these stories there's always a triangle? There's a woman, and then there's always someone trying to get that woman of yours. That's Jerome Charan. And I realize now, I'd have to be Dr. Freud to figure that out, finally, that's what it is. It's Jerry. Where is he? I'll tell him to his face if he's here. No, he's not here tonight. Yeah, but you're right about that. There's always this, the love thing is more complicated than I posed it earlier, because there's always some other thing that's going to pull this away. This, either a person or something will happen that will pull this love story away. Yeah. We have to leave now. Yes, I guess we have to say thank you to Christina Foxley and everyone at Strand. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you to Frederic Tuten. He's going to stick around and sign books, so come on up and chat with him. Thank you all for coming. Check out strandbooks.com for future events.